なぜそんなに時計を気になさってるんですか？
これはですね、キルだから。
You know what's better than seeing your favorite character destroy someone? Seeing your favorite character overpower someone using sheer brain power alone. Well, sometimes. But anyway, I'm sure that there's almost no one who doesn't like watching characters outsmart each other and win with high IQ moves. With that in mind, we did our research and got a whole bunch of moments lined up. From Kaguya and Miyuki waging mental warfare over an umbrella to a bunch of kids from the Promised Neverland trying to escape their slaughterhouse. Here's a list of the top 20 1000 IQ moments in anime to scratch that mental itch. Starting off this list, we have a moment from the Vinland Saga when Askeladd sailed his ship over land. Well, technically a bunch of his men carried their ships over land, but it was a strategic masterclass by him since it took the enemy by surprise and led to him capturing the French fortress. The entire plan was exceptionally unorthodox, as who in their right mind chooses to carry ships to raid a fort? Askeladd. That's who. To add insult to injury, after raiding the fortress, Askeladd and his crew run off with the treasure, leaving their employer in the dust. Definitely one of the smartest moves from one of the best strategists around. That's when you know the Vikings are the real chads of history and anime. Next up is a fight from One Piece that deserves a spot on this list. Luffy fills himself with water to fight Crocodile. It's especially impressive because it's from one of the conventionally dumbest characters in the series. At this moment in time, we in the Straw Hats aren't aware of what Haki was, and that meant that there weren't many ways you could beat a Logia-type Devil Fruit user. And boy, was Crocodile's Sand Fruit overpowered. Luffy's top moment was when he used his rubber body to fill himself up with water. He used that water to make Crocodile tangible, allowing Luffy to hurt him with physical attacks. Luffy used his ingenuity and battle IQ to take down a warlord of the sea, which was quite an impressive feat.
Teika?
かかったな天才。そしてここが俺の真のラストアクション。勝手に直撃。バックヒールショット。
Kickstarting his way onto our list, we have a moment from Blue Lock where Isagi outsmarts Rin. Now, you may remember in Samurai Jack where Jack and Aku had a face-off and they outsmarted each other by saying, "I knew that you knew that I knew." Well, something similar happens in this situation. Isagi knows that Rin is extremely adept at reading him and knows exactly what he intends to do. With that fact in mind, Isagi turns the tables on Rin, knowing precisely what he would do and countering it in epic fashion. The outcome was Isagi scoring a massively difficult goal on Rin. Rin Itoshi is known to be one of the most intelligent players in Blue Lock, and watching him get scored on just shows how great of a move Isagi played when he outsmarted him. Moving up the list, we have Jotaro tricking Enya from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders. How do you fight something that doesn't have a tangible form? It's hard to punch something like that, so how was Jotaro supposed to beat Enya's stand? In one of the best IQ moments, that's how. To beat someone who's a literal mist, you do what Jotaro thought of. You inhale them. While Star Platinum couldn't physically harm Justice due to its mist-like form, it managed to inhale the entirety, causing Enya to suffocate and leaving her entirely at the mercy of Jotaro. Possibly one of the easiest ways Jotaro has used his cunning to end a fight.
Dora. 捕まえた。
Blasting his way into our top 20, we have Sid versus Olivier from Eminence in Shadow. Now, fans of the series already know that Sid is extremely overpowered and normally destroys anything that comes in his way. But what happens when he has brains along with his brawn? Well, basically what happened to Olivier. In the fight, many copies of Olivier show up, and finally, the real Olivier gives Sid a really bad wound. Unfortunately for Olivier though, Sid was waiting for the real one to hurt him so he could grab Olivier's neck, outright bite her, and remove the copies. After taking care of her copies, Sid uses his epically destructive move I Am Atomic to destroy the entire sanctuary, defeating both Olivier and Nelson at the same time. It was an outstanding move as he brought the opponent into a false sense of security before taking them out entirely. That bite was just menacing too. We're at the halfway point now, so if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you. Making its way into the list is a moment from Fate Zero where Giritsugu outsmarts Kaneth. Sometimes these moments are awesome because they end with a really smart character being humiliated, and other times they end with a really smart character being outright murdered. It may be tasteless when the latter happens, but there's no taking away from the fact that it was an astoundingly high IQ move by Giritsugu. Rather than having Lancer fight Saber in an honorable match, Giritsugu chooses to pressure Kaneth into forcing Lancer to take his own life. After that's done, Giritsugu proceeds to assassinate both Kaneth himself and his wife. It was utterly brutal, but nonetheless, a very smart way to defeat Lancer without putting Saber at risk. Up next, we have Bercoli versus Vector from Sword Art Online. Now, this fight showed Bercoli's will along with how quickly he could think on his feet to defeat an incredibly powerful opponent. Bercoli isn't weak by any means, but Vector was just so strong that the entire fight seemed very one-sided. Bercoli got his arm chomped off and was basically at death's door. When he got an opening to attack, Bercoli took it. In a really smart move, Bercoli opted to target Vector's past, slashing it to defeat the villain. He did lose his life in the process, but defeating such an incredible enemy required that sort of sacrifice. The overall scene was great and the animation was amazing too, which is kind of like a cherry on top. An amazing fight scene and some high IQ moments? What more could you need? Making its way, we have The Great Escape from the Promised Neverland. Now, the series has showcased its protagonist as being amongst the smartest kids around, and they've proven that time and time again. What's especially impressive is that they uncover the reality of the orphanage they're in and the monsters that they're being raised for. It's incredibly dark, but makes way for showcasing the cunning of these kids. Emma was an utter mastermind for this and succeeded in escaping with most of her family. It's especially impressive because her family consisted of even younger children, so it was a monumental feat when you ended up outsmarting the exceptionally genius adults and basically escaping from a prison meant to raise you for slaughter.
最初の朝だ。アウラ、お前の前にいるのは1000年以上生きた魔法使いだ。
Moving on, we have another 1000 IQ moment from the anime Frieren vs. Aura. Now, this moment came up when Frieren fought against the Great Demon and Sage of Destruction, Aura. Now, Aura's a very strong character with the ability to basically control anyone to do anything if her opponent happens to have mana reserves less than her own. But Frieren was one step ahead, having used Aura's power against her. In all normal cases, Frieren would have lost if she had to face that entire army, but Aura ended up using a spell of obedience. Friren's incredible moment was that she had suppressed her mana for the entirety of this time and all her life for that matter. If Aura knew that Frieren had such a high mana reserve, she would never have used her spell of obedience. But since Frieren only revealed her true mana levels after the spell was cast, Aura had no choice but to be completely under her control, which ended with her losing her life at her own hands. Frieren was just cold and merciless.
予期していなければ絶対に防げる。
Punching into the next spot is Karma versus Grip from Assassination Classroom. It's always fun watching a guy who looks weak beat an opponent who seems much stronger on paper, especially if the tactic used is pretty devious. During the first half of the match, Karma avoided all of Grip's attacks. During the second half, he fought in hand-to-hand combat. In the third part, he pretended to be paralyzed and ended up dousing Grip with the paralysis spray he used first on Karma. Now, the moment showed how brilliant Karma was at turning the situation in his favor and displayed his fighting sense as a well-trained assassin. Just goes to show though, doesn't it? Brawns aren't everything.
さあおじさん今こそプロの意地を見せる時だね
これ先生カルム君特に変わってなくない
ええ将来が思いやられます
Rumbling his way onto the list is Eren manipulating his father from Attack on Titan.
これは父さんが始めた物語だろう
Now, Attack on Titan has been known for its tragic events, especially how Eren's parents ended up. But the real kicker of this situation is that Eren was in fact the one who orchestrated everything that happened on Paradise. Literally everything. Eren used his ability to influence the past, made his father do everything to get the founding Titan into his grasp, including manipulating him into feeding himself to Eren when he was younger and into killing the entire Reese family. It's such a high IQ moment that it's confusing even when you try to explain it, showcasing how far ahead Eren's plans were just so he could get his way.
レイスケを殺したぞ父親以外はこれでいいのかこれでよかったのか影寄せの術
Before the top 3 of this list, we have the second entry from the big 3 of Shonen, the way Shikamaru defeats Hidan in Naruto. Now, Shikamaru is known as one of the smartest characters in Naruto, and he certainly lives up to that, even while fighting a guy who's supposedly immortal. Shikamaru cleverly used Gakuzu's blood instead of his own, causing Gakuzu to lose one of his hearts and outsmart Hidan. How do you defeat an immortal guy? Well, you blow him up and bury him 6 feet under, of course, what else? Not only was this a 1000 IQ moment, but it was such satisfying revenge for Shikamaru and the fans because of how Hidan killed Asuma. So that's why in the future, Shikamaru becomes Naruto's right-hand man. Entering the top 3 of this list, we have Aizen humiliating the captains of Soul Society from Bleach. Now, Aizen was an incredibly calculating villain. Aizen had been manipulating everyone for quite a while, making them run around in circles until he finally went face to face with a whole bunch of captains. You'd think that you'd be able to overpower one former captain who doesn't even have a bad guy, but no! Aizen was multiple steps ahead even then. During the start of the fight, Aizen pretended to be on the losing end, only to show that he was in no danger at all. Aizen's ability to manipulate their senses and control the situation made the captains feel utterly powerless and incapable of challenging him. What's cooler is that Aizen looked like all of this took him 0 effort. Brains and brawn are a powerful combination, especially if it's Aizen.
世界も我に従えオールファイルルーシュ
Next up, we have Lelouch tricking the entire world from Code Geass. Just like how Eren manipulated the events of his country, we have Lelouch who manipulated most of the world. Shown to always be incredibly smart, Lelouch was proven to be a spectacular strategist. He literally overthrew the strongest empire in the world by participating and then controlling an entire rebellion. Through a series of calculated moves and political maneuvers, he manipulated public opinion and staged elaborate events, all with the aim of positioning himself as a common enemy to unite the world against. This intricate plan allowed him to maintain control behind the scenes while appearing as a sacrificial figure for the greater good, ultimately deceiving the entire world. He literally became a villain after dominating everything just so the world would unite and his sister could live in peace. What a mad lad.
俺は世界を壊し皆さん死神
At the top of the list, we have Light killing L from Death Note. Now, Death Note's a show where two of the smartest people in the world have a clash of ideals and play cat and mouse. The show has such a high number of high IQ moments since both the characters have insanely high intellect. During the entire span of the series, we see L try to figure out who the killer Gira is, while Light tries to find a way to kill L so that he gets off his back. So of course, the highest IQ moment in this exceptionally long battle of wits was going to be when one character won against the other. Unfortunately for L though, he was on the losing end as Light's plans bear fruit, in which he even tricked himself. He literally made himself forget his memories or to get close to L and finally land that fatal blow on him. It was truly a spectacular feat and one that deserves the highest spot on this list. And with that, we're wrapping up this list of the top 20,000 IQ moments in anime. Considering that there are countless smart characters all around, we're sure that we probably missed many that would be at the top of your list, so do make sure you let us know in the comments about those. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want more of this high IQ content. See you next time.